In Colombia's shadowed streets, Pablo Escobar rose not just as a drug lord but as a legend. His story meshes with the police in a hop of power and fear. Who was Escobar beyond the headlines? And what was the cost of his empire on those sworn to bring him down? Join us as we are going to discuss the clash that shook Colombia. Pablo Escobar's journey from obscurity to infamy began in Rio Negro, Colombia. Born to a farmer and a schoolteacher, Escobar's early life was marked by modesty, far from the generosity that would later define him. Yet the temptation of quick wealth drew him into the underworld. As a teenager, Escobar engaged in petty crimes, from selling counterfeit diplomas to smuggling stereo equipment. It wasn't long before his ambitions led him to darker paths. By 1974, Escobar's criminal activities expanded to car theft, resulting in his first arrest. However, this setback barely slowed his ascent in the criminal world. Recognizing the burgeoning demand for cocaine in the United States, Escobar shifted to drug smuggling. His timing couldn't have been better. Colombia, situated near coca-producing countries, was a prime location for cocaine production and distribution. Escobar's entry into the cocaine trade marked the beginning of an era. By the mid-1970s, he was instrumental in founding the Medellin cartel, shifting his focus to the production, transport, and sale of cocaine. This move not only amplified his wealth but also his influence, setting the scene for his reign as the kingpin of Colombia's drug trade. Escobar's story, from humble beginnings to the peak of the criminal underworld, is a manifestation of his cunning, ambition, and the dark allure of power. From humble beginnings to a feared drug lord, we've seen Escobar's rise. Now let's move on to how his empire, the Medellin cartel, became the heart of Colombia's cocaine crisis. In the mid-1970s, the Medellin cartel emerged under the guidance of Pablo Escobar, marking the dawn of a new era in the cocaine trade. With strategic alliances, including the notable Ochoa brothers, Escobar headed this cartel to phenomenal heights. Their operations extended from the coca fields of Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia directly into the eager markets of the United States, establishing a cocaine highway that was both efficient and deadly. The cartel's dominance in the cocaine trade was not just about logistics. It was about power, fear, and a strict grip on supply routes and law enforcement. By the mid-1980s, the Medellin cartel was responsible for the majority of cocaine entering the U.S., turning Escobar into one of the wealthiest and most feared men in the world. His fortune, estimated at around $25 billion, afforded him a lifestyle of opulence and extravagance. At the heart of Escobar's empire stood Hacienda Nápoles. More than just a home, it was a symbol of his wealth and power, sprawling over 7,000 acres. It featured luxurious amenities, including a private zoo filled with exotic animals, lavish gardens, and a collection of vintage cars. Hacienda Nápoles stood as a symbol of Escobar's ascent from anonymity to a status where his wealth and influence could compete with entire nations. This period of dominance, however, was marked by a trail of violence and corruption, as Escobar stopped at nothing to maintain his empire's supremacy, laying the groundwork for an inevitable clash with law enforcement. The Medellin cartel's reign introduces us to a world of excess and power. But how did Escobar stay one step ahead of the law? Let's discuss his cunning evasion tactics next. Pablo Escobar's ability to elude capture wasn't just luck. It was a calculated strategy employing a mix of bribery, violence, and innovation. With a seemingly endless supply of money, Escobar turned corruption into an art form. He infiltrated every level of government and law enforcement, ensuring that anyone who could threaten his empire was either on his payroll or intimidated into silence. This plata o plomo,
Plata o plomo.
silver or lead approach left a clear message. Align with Escobar or face dire consequences. Violence was a crucial tool in Escobar's arsenal. Rivals, uncooperative officials, and anyone daring to challenge his dominance were swiftly dealt with, often publicly, to instill fear. This reign of terror ensured that his operations went largely unchallenged, solidifying his grip on the drug trade. However, Escobar didn't rely on fear and corruption alone. He was an innovator in the world of crime, utilizing technology and infrastructure to stay one step ahead of law enforcement. Tunnels, secret compartments in vehicles, and a network of safe houses enabled the safe transport of drugs and money, and even provided escape routes when raids were imminent. Escobar also invested in sophisticated communication tools to monitor enemies and authorities, allowing him to move freely and maintain control over his vast empire. Escobar's evasion was not just about hiding, it was about wielding power. Now let's see how he aimed to legitimize that power in the political arena. Pablo Escobar's ambitions were not confined to the criminal underworld. He sought legitimacy and power through political channels as well. His incursion into politics in the early 1980s revealed his desire to shape Colombia's future, not just from the shadows but as a recognized leader. Escobar was elected to an alternate seat in the Colombian Congress, a move that surprised both his adversaries and supporters.
La ideología principal de nuestro movimiento es civismo, nacionalismo, programas sociales, ecológicos y deportivos.
However, Escobar's political aspirations quickly collided with the reality of his infamous reputation. His involvement in politics drew international attention to the extent of corruption within Colombia, prompting calls for rigorous anti-corruption measures. The backlash was swift, with Escobar's political career ending almost as quickly as it began. While Escobar sought political influence to cement his empire, the government and police were not idle. The battle against Pablo Escobar and his Medellin cartel presented unprecedented challenges for both the Colombian government and international law enforcement. Escobar's infiltration into the political and judicial systems through bribery and intimidation created a complex web of corruption that seemed impenetrable. Police officers and officials were often caught between loyalty to their duty and the fear of Escobar's retribution, complicating efforts to take decisive action against him. Despite these obstacles, notable efforts were made to dismantle Escobar's network. Operations like Search Block were specifically created to hunt down Escobar, led by determined officers who were often the targets of assassination attempts. Innovative tactics, including wiretapping and surveillance, were employed to gather intelligence on Escobar's movements and operations. Additionally, raids on properties owned by Escobar aimed to disrupt his cartel's logistics and financial backbone, though his ability to evade capture time and again spoke to the sophistication of his evasion tactics. International involvement, particularly by the United States, played a crucial role in the pursuit of Escobar. The U.S., as the primary destination for the Medellin cartel's cocaine, had a vested interest in his capture. The DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, provided crucial intelligence support and resources, recognizing the global threat posed by Escobar. This collaboration highlighted the international dimensions of the drug trade and the need for a coordinated response to effectively combat it. This united effort to dismantle one of history's most infamous drug lords acts as a powerful tribute to the resilience and bravery of those who confronted Escobar's reign of terror. Following Escobar's dramatic escape and ultimate demise, we ponder the aftermath. Despite the government's crackdown, Escobar's public image was complex. To some, he was a ruthless criminal whose actions led to untold suffering and chaos. Yet, to others, particularly the poor of Colombia, Escobar was a Robin Hood figure, a man who used his vast wealth to provide for those neglected by the system. This dual perception of Escobar is pivotal in understanding the complex social fabric of Colombia during his reign. Escobar was acutely aware of his public image and masterfully manipulated it. Through well-publicized acts of charity and public works, he endeared himself to many Colombians. Escobar built soccer fields, schools, and hospitals, directly addressing the needs of the poor communities. His ability to provide what the government could not or would not be rendered him a hero in the eyes of many. This philanthropy, however, was a double-edged sword. It both legitimized his status among the impoverished and served as a smokescreen for his illicit activities. The narrative of Escobar as a benefactor is complicated by the bloodshed and terror he unleashed. The same man who could be generous and charming was responsible for countless deaths, including those of police officers, judges, and civilians. This challenges simplistic interpretations of Escobar's character and legacy. Understanding Escobar's dual role in Colombian society requires a nuanced examination of the socio-economic conditions that allowed him to rise to power. It also prompts reflection on the nature of heroism and villainy, suggesting that public perception can be as volatile and complex as the individuals it seeks to define. Having traced Escobar's path from power to downfall, we've seen the resilience of a nation. But what lessons can we learn from this dark chapter in history? The downfall of Pablo Escobar, once deemed untouchable, began with the relentless pursuit by Colombian authorities and international forces. A turning point came when the violence orchestrated by Escobar, including bombings and targeted assassinations, spurred a unified crackdown. The Colombian government, pressured by Escobar's reign of terror and international demand, particularly from the United States, intensified their efforts to dismantle the Medellin cartel. Escobar's capture in 1991 led to his confinement in La Catedral, a prison that was more a luxury compound than a cell of penance. However, when authorities decided to transfer him to a standard facility, fearing his continued criminal activities even behind bars, Escobar executed a daring escape, sparking one of the most extensive manhunts in Colombian history. The country, aided by U.S. intelligence, was determined to end its saga. The chase concluded on December 2, 1993, A day after Escobar's 44th birthday, Colombian forces acting on intelligence cornered him in a Medellin hideout. In a rooftop shootout, Escobar was fatally shot. While some speculate about the nature of his death, its symbolism was unequivocal, marking the end of the Medellin cartel's dominance. Escobar's death ushered in a complex aftermath. While it crippled the Medellin cartel, it did not end Colombia's struggles with drug trafficking. However, it symbolized a pivotal moment in Colombia's fight against narco-terrorism, showcasing both the government's resolve and the depth of Escobar's impact on Colombian society. As we close the chapter on Pablo Escobar's tumultuous reign, let's carry forward the lessons learned from Colombia's resilience and determination. Join the conversation, share your thoughts in the comments below, and contribute to the ongoing fight against global drug trafficking.